Man, where did you dig that up? Tyler Hicks said it with a grin that was already halfway to a laugh before the sentence was finished. He was standing behind the Gunsmith counter at Volunteer Arms in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, looking at the rifle that an 80-year-old man had just set down on the counter glass in front of him. The rifle was an M21, the Army's Vietnam-era purpose-built sniper variant of the M14, and it looked every year of its age. The exterior finish had oxidized through to rust in patches where the bluing had worn off. The wood stock was darkened almost to black from decades of oil and handling. The Redfield AccuRange scope on top was a model that Tyler associated, vaguely, with his grandfather's deer rifle from before Tyler was born. Jake, the counterstaff, looked at the rifle and then at Tyler and smothered a grin behind his hand. The old man in the blue windbreaker set the canvas case on the counter beside the rifle and folded it flat. He looked at Tyler. He looked at the rifle. He looked back at Tyler. "I'd like it cleaned," he said. "And I'd like the stock refinished. The metal I'll leave as it is." Tyler picked up the rifle with the easy confidence of a man who handles firearms daily. He turned it over, examined the action, looked through the scope. He shook his head slightly, the grin not leaving, the grin of a man sharing a private joke with the room. "Sir, I can clean it for you," he said. "But a refinish on the stock is going to run you more than this rifle is worth at auction." He set it back down. "You'd be better off with a modern replacement stock if you want it to look presentable. This old M14 variant..." "M21, the old man said. Tyler paused. "Right," he said. "The M21. You'd be better off." "It's not for auction," Eldon said. "It's mine. I want the stock refinished." Tyler opened his mouth to continue the assessment. The old man put one long-fingered hand flat on the counter. "Before you tell me what it's worth," he said, "you might want to read the serial number." What Tyler Hicks did not know, what nothing in his 4 years of gunsmithing experience had prepared him for, because he had never encountered this particular thing before, was that the M21 sniper rifle lying on his counter was not a surplus relic or a collection piece or an estate find. It had been issued, in 1969, to one man. It had been carried by that man through 22 months of operations in the Central Highlands of Vietnam. It had been fired by that man at ranges that the Army's own documentation described, in the careful language of official records, as extraordinary. It had been purchased by that man at the end of his service for the government price of $42 and carried home in the same canvas case it had arrived at the counter in, and the serial number stamped into the receiver matched, exactly, the serial number on a document that Owen Garrett kept in a firearms reference binder on the bottom shelf of his back office, a document he had acquired from a military surplus auction 12 years ago and kept because it was remarkable, and because remarkable things deserved to be kept. It was the Army's original assignment card for that rifle, and the name on it was Elden Marsh. If you believe that the most significant things are often the quietest ones, type marksman in the comments right now. Because what Owen Garrett does when he comes out of the back and reads that serial number is a moment that nobody who was in that shop on that Tuesday morning ever talked about casually afterward. His full name was Elden James Marsh. He had been born in Rutherford County, Tennessee, in the spring of 1945, the only son of a tobacco farmer who shot competitively in the summers, and a school teacher who believed that paying attention was the most important skill a person could develop. He had grown up doing both, shooting at every county match his father could get him to, and learning to pay the specific quality of attention that his mother considered the beginning of all real knowledge. He had been drafted in March of 1966, at 20 years old, completed basic training at Fort Campbell, and had been assessed during a marksmanship qualification at a score so far outside the standard distribution that the qualifying NCO had stopped the exercise and made him shoot the course again while standing behind him. The second score matched the first within 2 points. The NCO had written something on the evaluation form and sent it up the chain. Elden had attended the Army Marksmanship Training Unit's preliminary assessment at Fort Benning in the fall of 1966. He had attended the Vietnam-era sniper training course, a compressed, field-oriented program that had been developed in response to the operational requirements of that specific conflict. In early 1967, he had deployed to Vietnam with the 9th Infantry Division in the spring of 1967, served his first tour in the Mekong Delta, and had extended his service for a second tour with the 4th Infantry Division in the Central Highlands, where the terrain, open ridgelines, long valleys, high and dry, was better suited to the specific distances his skill operated at. He had been issued the M21 in the spring of 1969. It was the Army's first purpose-built sniper system. The M14 rifle selected, accurized, fitted with a fiberglass bedded stock and the Redfield AccuRange scope, each rifle individually tested before issue to ensure it would hold sub-minute accuracy at the distances being asked of it. The rifle issued to Elden Marsh had been tested at the Army Marksmanship Unit's facility and had printed a 5-shot group at 300 yards that the testing armorer had written on the back of the assignment card, in pencil, because he wanted someone to know. Elden had operated with the M21 for 22 months across the Central Highlands. The official record of his confirmed engagements during that period was held in a file that had been partially classified for reasons unrelated to Elden's specific actions and had been fully released in 1994. The file documented 31 confirmed engagements at ranges between 400 and 1,200 yards. It documented the longest confirmed shot in 4th Infantry Division sniper records for that operational period. 1,140 yards across a valley in Pleiku Province in the dry season light of February 1970, in conditions that the after-action described as cross-valley, variable wind, declining light. Single round. The file also documented the rifle's serial number and the name on the assignment card. He had come home in late 1970, separated from the Army in 1971, and had taken the rifle with him at the government purchase price, $42, which the supply sergeant had said was robbery in one direction, and Elden had not argued. He had driven it home to Rutherford County in the canvas case. He had put it in a closet because he was not ready to look at it. He had taken it out 18 months later, cleaned it thoroughly, and put it back. He had done this every year since. Taken it out, cleaned it, inspected every component, put it back. He had not fired it since Vietnam. He had built a life in Rutherford County. He had farmed tobacco for a decade, then shifted to soybeans when the market changed, then retired from farming in 1998 and spent the next 20 years helping his son run a small engine repair business. He had been married to a woman named Ruth for 49 years before she passed in 2019. He had 4 children, 9 grandchildren, and a great-grandchild he had held for the first time in July. He had brought the rifle to Volunteer Arms because he wanted the stock refinished. The wood was checking at the grip, a hairline crack developing that bothered him the way the loose gate latch on his fence bothered him, as something that deserved attention before it became a problem. He had chosen Volunteer Arms because a man at his church had told him Owen Garrett did good work and took old things seriously. He had not expected to need to explain what the rifle was. He had expected to drop it off and come back Thursday. He had not expected Tyler Hicks. Tyler had set the rifle down when Elden told him to read the serial number, not because the instruction meant anything to him, but because there was something in the way the old man said it that landed differently than the rest of the conversation had. He looked at the serial number stamped into the receiver. He wrote it on the service intake form. He looked at it. He had no idea what it meant. He was about to say so when Owen Garrett came out of the back office. Garrett had heard the laughter. Not specifically, more the quality of it. The particular register of young men finding something to be amused by, and had come to see what was on the counter. He was wearing his reading glasses on their cord, shop apron over a chambray shirt, and he came to the counter with the unhurried authority of a man in his own building. He looked at the rifle. He put on his reading glasses. He looked at the serial number. He looked at it for what felt, to Tyler, like a long time. Then he walked to the back office. He came back 60 seconds later with a document in a plastic sleeve. A single page, the paper yellowed, something typed at the top, and then a column of figures and a handwritten note in pencil at the bottom. He set it on the counter beside the rifle and read it again, looking between the document and the receiver. He took off his reading glasses. He looked at the old man in the blue windbreaker. "Elden Marsh," he said. The old man looked at him. "Owen Garrett," Elden said. He looked at the document. "That's mine." "I know," Garrett said. He put his hand briefly on the rifle's stock. The reverent, brief contact of a man touching something he understands. "I've had this for 12 years. I've been wondering who the name belonged to." Tyler looked at the document. He could see the serial number. He could see it matched. He could not read the typed portion clearly, but he could read the handwritten pencil note at the bottom, which read, 5-shot group, 300 yards, 0.61 MOA, and the date 1969. He looked at the rifle. The rusted, old, stock-cracking rifle he had been about to steer a customer away from, refinishing, because it wasn't worth the cost. He said, "What is this document? Subscribe to Iron and Honor right now and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Because when Owen Garrett reads that document out loud, the assignment card, the test results, the operational record, and the room goes completely quiet, Tyler Hicks does something that takes a particular kind of character. He puts down his apron and he asks the old man a question that changes everything that follows." Garrett read it. Not all of it. It was several pages in the binder, and some of it was still dry army language that required context. He read the key facts, the assignment, the test results at the AMU, the 31 confirmed engagements, the operational period, the final entry, which described the longest confirmed engagement in the 4th Infantry Division sniper records for the Central Highlands operational period. 1,140 yards. Pleiku Province, February 1970. Variable wind, declining light, single round. The shop went quiet in the way that spaces go quiet when something shifts the weight of the room. Jake, who had been smothering a laugh 15 minutes earlier, was very still. Tyler was looking at the rifle. Elden was looking at nothing in particular. He was looking at the middle distance the way men look at the middle distance when they are not in the room they appear to be in, when they are somewhere else, briefly before coming back. Garrett set the document down. "The stock," he said. "What's wrong with it?" "Checking at the grip," Elden said. "Hairline crack developing. I want it refinished before it opens." Garrett nodded. He picked up the rifle, turned it, found the crack, examined it for a moment. "Tyler," he said. Tyler looked up. "Full stock restoration," Garrett said. "Period correct finish, no charge." He looked at Elden. "It'll take about 3 weeks. I want to do it right." Elden looked at him. "I'll pay," he said. "I know you will," Garrett said. I'm not charging you. He held Eldon's look. 12 years I've had that card on my shelf and wondered. 3 weeks is the least I can do. Eldon was quiet for a moment. All right, he said. Tyler had been standing at the counter through all of this. He had not moved. He had looked at the rifle and at the document and at the old man and at the rifle again, and something had been rearranging itself in him. Not the dramatic rearrangement of a man discovering he was catastrophically wrong, but the quieter rearrangement of a man discovering that the category he had been using was too small. He looked at Eldon. Set the pencil note at the bottom, Tyler said. The group size, 0.61 MOA at 300 yards, in 1969. Eldon waited. Is that the rifle or is that you? Eldon considered this for a moment. Both, he said. A rifle doesn't shoot. A man shoots. The two of them together produce the group. Tyler looked at the rifle. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. The longest shot, Tyler said carefully. 1,140 yards. What was the hold? Eldon looked at him for a moment. The same look he had given everyone in his life who had asked him a question worth answering. The look of a man deciding whether the question deserved the full truth. 480 inches, he said. 19 feet of elevation hold. Wind was variable at the line and reversed at mid-range. I gave it 8 minutes right at the firing position and adjusted for the reversal by holding 2 minutes back left at the target. The light was going. I had about 12 minutes before I'd lose the target in the valley shadow. He paused. I took the shot at 9 minutes. Tyler was quiet. How did you know the wind reversed at mid-range? He said. The grass, Eldon said. The near grass and the far grass were moving in opposite directions. The valley channeled the air. I'd been watching it for 40 minutes before I took the shot. Tyler looked at the old rifle on the counter. The rusted patches, the darkened stock, the pencil note at the bottom of the 55-year-old document. He thought about 40 minutes of watching the grass in a Vietnamese valley. He thought about 19 feet of hold. He thought about the laugh that had come out of him when the canvas case had been unzipped. Can I? He started. He stopped. He took his shop apron off. He set it on the counter. He put his hand out. Tyler Hicks, he said. I owe you an apology for how I received you when you came in. Eldon looked at the outstretched hand. He shook it. You saw a rusted rifle, Eldon said. That's what's there. I should have asked what else was there, Tyler said. Eldon picked up the canvas case. He folded it, set it beside the rifle. Thursday in 3 weeks, Garrett said. Eldon nodded. He put on his windbreaker zip and walked to the door. He stopped. He turned back. The group at the bottom of that card, he said. He was looking at Garrett. The armorer who wrote it. His name was Sergeant First Class Donaldson. He told me when he handed me the rifle that he'd tested 1,000 rifles, and this was the best one. He paused. I believed him. Every shot I took with it, I believed him. He looked at the rifle on the counter. You take care of it. He went out. The shop was quiet for a moment after the door closed. Tyler picked up the rifle with both hands and held it the way you hold something when you understand, finally, what it is. He turned it over and found the serial number and looked at it. Not reading it, just looking at it. The way you look at a fact that has just changed its weight. Jake from the counter said quietly, 40 minutes watching the grass. Tyler nodded. He was still looking at the serial number. Get me the stock refinishing kit from the back, he said. The period-correct oil and the fine steel wool. He set the rifle down on the workbench pad with the specific care of a man beginning a job he intends to do perfectly. I'm not rushing this one. 3 weeks later, Elden Marsh drove back to Volunteer Arms in the dark green Ford Ranger and parked at the far end of the lot. He came inside. Tyler was at the gunsmith bench. He had been there early. The rifle was on the bench, and the stock was something different than it had been. The wood brought back to a deep, even, period-correct oil finish, the grain visible through it the way the original finish had shown it 55 years ago. The crack at the grip stabilized and sealed with period-appropriate technique, invisible unless you knew where to look. Tyler had spent 11 hours on the stock across 3 sessions, which was 10 hours more than the job warranted financially and exactly the right amount of time. He handed it across the bench. Elden took it. He held it. He worked the action once, slowly. He looked down the scope. He set it on the bench and looked at Tyler. "Good work," he said. Tyler nodded. It was not the enthusiasm of a young man seeking approval. It was the acknowledgement of one craftsman receiving the assessment of another. "The pencil note," Tyler said. "The armorer's name, Sergeant First Class Donaldson. I looked him up." Elden waited. "He trained 31 sniper teams between 1967 and 1971, Tyler said. "The AMU has a record on him. He's listed as one of the finest rifle preparation armorers the program produced." He paused. "He passed away in 2009. Elden was quiet for a moment. "He was right about the rifle," he said finally. He put the rifle in the canvas case. He zipped it closed. He paid for the job, which Garrett had priced at the cost of materials only, and left without arguing about it a second time. He drove home on the Tennessee State Highway, the canvas case on the back seat level and secure. He thought about Sergeant First Class Donaldson, who had handed him a rifle in 1969 and said it was the best one he'd tested, and who had been right, and who he had thought about every time he opened the case for 53 years, without ever knowing if Donaldson knew how right he had been. He thought he would write something down when he got home, about the rifle and about Donaldson and about the valley in Pleiku Province in February of 1970. Not for anyone else, just so the thing existed somewhere in writing, while he was still the one who remembered it. He thought he owed Donaldson that much. There are rifles in canvas cases in closets and attics and back rooms across this country, and most of them are just rifles, but some of them are something else. A record, a life's work, a relationship between a man and an instrument so long and so specific that the instrument itself carries the history of every moment they shared. You cannot read it from the outside. You have to know what you are looking at. Tyler Hicks learned that on a Tuesday morning in a Tennessee gun shop, when the laugh was still in his chest and the canvas case was still being unzipped. He has not laughed at a customer's firearm since. He does not think he ever will again. Subscribe to Iron and Honor for the men and the rifles they brought home. Hit the bell. Don't miss the next one. The serial number was just a number, until Owen Garrett read it. Then it was 55 years of a man and a rifle and a valley in Vietnam, and 40 minutes of watching the grass before the shot that nobody in that shop had known to ask about.